So, let us discuss today the lance profile. Today we will be discussing lance profile. Lance profile means change in lance distance as a function of time. So, what I have done in the plot, I have plotted say lance distance against blow time. Now, this plot is simply schematic because different converters have different lance profile. So, what I wanted to illustrate a general lance profile which is valid in all converters irrespective of the capacity. So, this particular profile shows that in the beginning, say for example, if you have 0% blowing time. So, in the beginning lance distance is kept high. As the blow proceeds, after around 20 to 30% of the blow, lance distance is decreased, and then for a considerable period of time, say up to 75% of the blow, the lance is more or less kept constant and blows at a constant lance distance. After 75% to rest of the time, the blow continues either at a reduced lance distance or at the same lance distance, that depends on practice to practice. Now, before I go further in detail, what I have done, I have superimposed on this lance profile the physical and chemical interaction between oxygen jet and molten bath. So, if you see in the figure A, as the lance distance is higher, what happens? Oxygen jet hits the bath, and the red line and the red that you are seeing, that is the depth of penetration. So, as the oxygen jet hits from a relatively higher distance, the depth of penetration is shallow, and as a result of which silicon gets to oxidize to SiO2, manganese to MnO, and iron to FeO. Now, as I have said in some of the practice, calcium oxide is also added in order to form a slag for a removal of phosphorus. So, in the initial period of blow, it consists of oxidation of impurities as well as iron and beginning of slag formation, which starts with the dissolution of calcium oxide, because unless calcium oxide dissolves and a basic limey slag forms, there is no chance for removal of phosphorus in the later periods of the blow. So, that is what the A figure, which is superimposed on a higher lance distance side, shows that the physico-chemical interaction between jet and the bath, they are little bit of oxidizing in nature. That means, the depth of penetration is low, the droplets of metal, they are little bit, in some amount they are generated, and the slag is formed as I have shown in the red line, that is here is the slag will form, this is the metal, and also as we blow oxygen, some amount of carbon is also begin to oxidize to carbon monoxide, but it is a very low rate. So, in the beginning, as the blow proceeds, at the mouth of the converter, first of all brown fumes will appear. Soon after the brown fumes, red fumes begin to appear, and that indicates that silicon oxidation is over. Now, red fumes means iron is getting to oxidize to Fe2O3, the slag will be highly oxidizing in nature. Now, it is a time to decrease the lance distance. That is a very important indication to the operator. The changeover from brown fumes to red fumes, and all of a sudden in between the red fumes, a white colored fume begins to appear, and that shows that the carbon oxidation has also begun in the process. So, that is what this particular purple color shows the evolution of carbon monoxide as exiting from the mouth of the converter. Now, after around 20 to 25% of the blow, the lance distance is reduced. Now, the reason for reduction of the lance distance, because if we blow at a lance distance which we have done in the beginning, then the depth of penetration will be low, most of the oxygen will be supplied at the bath level or just below the bath level. So, oxidation of iron will be very high, and as such you have a very highly oxidized metal, and that may towards the later period may foam, and ultimately slag may come out of the vessel. So, that is where immediately after the silicon oxidation period, which is indicated by the appearance of slight reddish and white fumes at the mouth of the converter, the lance is reduced. Now, in this reduced distance lance, the jet becomes harder. So, in our terminology, if this particular situation we started with the soft jet, we have made here harder. We have made the jet here harder. Why? How we have made the harder? We have just decreased the lance distance, which was originally up to here. Now, we are blowing at this particular lance distance. What happens if you reduce the lance distance? If you reduce the lance distance, the depth of penetration will be larger. So, as you see the depth of penetration, which is shown by the red line, it is deep into the bath. What is the consequence of this? As a consequence of deep penetration of oxygen jet into the bath, more oxygen will be available in the bath, and as such the reaction between carbon and oxygen will begin at a very high rate. So, you see a continuous flame of carbon monoxide is evolving, continuous flame of carbon monoxide will be appearing at the exit, and that indicates that the refining reactions are going on perfectly well. So, that is one of the condition or one of the indication to the operator that the CO flame should continuously appear at the mouth of the converter in between 20 to 75% of the blow. If in between this period, if the flame disappears for some reason, then it is an indication that CO bubble is continuously entrapped into the slag, and caution is required that slag should not come out of the vessel. So, the deep penetration helps the removal of carbon, but at the same time what happens? In the earlier period we have formed already a slag which is limy and basic. So, already we have a slag over here. The penetration of the jet is deep into the bath, droplets will also be produced, and as a result of production of the droplets will be entrained into the slag, and part of the carbon monoxide bubble which are smaller, they will also be entrained into the slag, and as a result slag will foam, and that is what shown by say purple, they are the metal droplets, and the red layer is shown as a slag one, and the gas bubbles and the gas bubbles are shown by a green color. So, what has happened now between 20 to 75% of the blow time? A three-phase dispersion has been formed. Three-phase dispersion consists of slag, metal droplets and gas bubbles. Now, the metal droplets have a very high interfacial area and a very high reaction rate is possible, because the droplets which have emerged from the metal or from the hot metal during the blow, they might have a carbon content of 2% or 1.5%, depends upon at which time they have entered into the slag. So, a higher amount of carbon in the droplet, and these droplet may also have phosphorus. So, the higher amount of carbon in the droplet, they will also begin to react with oxygen, that is FeO of the slag, and as such CO bubble may also form in the slag, and on account of that slag will foam, and that foaming of the slag has to be controlled. So, in the main part of the blow, what an operator should do? The operator should do, or the operator should control not only slag formation, but he should also control the continuous evolution of carbon monoxide at the mouth of the converter. At the same time, he should also see that the carbon removal rate should not be excessive, it should be excessive only after the removal of phosphorus. Once carbon gets removed, then the temperature of the bath gets high, and as you recall, the high temperature does not favor the dephosphorization. So, it is again the operator's judgment. He has to adjust the removal of carbon and removal of phosphorus such that on one hand the carbon monoxide flame always appeared at the exit of the converter, but on the other hand phosphorus also gets removed. What I wanted to say is that carbon removal is a gas metal reaction, phosphorus removal is a slag metal reaction. So, in between the main part he has to control such that both the reaction go simultaneously, but well at a pace, so that phosphorus removal becomes over and then carbon removal is on. So, that is what the main part of the blow, a slag metal or rather slag metal droplet and gas bubble dispersion is created. Now, this dispersion which we have created is collapsible in nature. That means, once the metal droplets are refined, they become heavier, they fall back into the bath, and the slag has become less viscous, then the gas bubbles will also be leaving the slag phase. So, the slag metal or the dispersion which has been formed, it collapses. So, in the beyond 75% of the blow, it has been ensured that all the phosphorus has removed. Now, only whatever extra carbon that has to be removed, that will be removed. So, a lance is slightly reduced beyond 75% till the end of the blow, where the blowing is complete. Now, well, here the lance should be reduced or not, that again depends on the profile, or that depends again on the specification, and that again depends on the operator's choice. Some prefer not to decrease the lance distance, some prefer to decrease the lance distance, but the main objective of decreasing slightly this lance distance is to take care of the carbon which is left in the hot metal. So, whatever amount of carbon is there, it will also be removed, and the dispersion which is formed, it also collapses, and later we have slag and metal form as collapse, and now the metal is ready for the taping. So, that is what in short the lance profile and how the physico-chemical interaction between the jet and the molten bath proceeds as the blow proceeds. Now, here one thing also to note, that from the beginning to the end there is a continuous removal of carbon. However, in the beginning the removal rate of carbon is very low, because most of the oxygen is being utilized by oxidation of silicon, oxidation of manganese and oxidation of iron. In the main part of the blow, now since silicon and manganese are totally oxidized, so now whatever oxygen that is incoming, it will be used for carbon and phosphorus reaction. So, in the main part of the blow, mostly carbon reaction and phosphorus reaction are proceeding. Removal of carbon forms carbon monoxide. The jet is penetrating deep. So, carbon monoxide bubbles, they also begin to form deep in the metal bath. So, bath is continuously stirred in the main part of the blow. Towards the end of the blow, that is from 75% onwards, carbon content of the bath has decreased. No matter how hard you blow, when there is no carbon or when there is less carbon, the removal rate of carbon has become slow. So, evolution of carbon monoxide bubble will also be low. As a result, the bath stirring is also pure. So, if towards the end part not precaution has been taken, then iron will also oxidize. So, before this happens, the blow is taken off, analysis is done and metal is tapped from the tapehold. So, that is what the interaction between jet and the molten metal along with the lance profile. Now, let us see the evolution of typical slag and metal composition. Now, again I have given here a schematic representation. The whole idea is to let you know how the removal of various elements and how the removal or how the formation of slag commences. For the detailed or for any values, you can consult any standard book. The reference I have given at the end of the lecture. Now, coming back to the removal of impurities and formation of slag. So, if you concentrate, for example, the x-axis shows the blowing time in percentage of the total, say 0%, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100%. The y-axis is the concentration of impurity. Concentration of carbon is higher than phosphorus, then manganese, and then silicon. So, as you blow oxygen, silicon oxidizes very fast. As you are seeing that silicon oxidation is mostly complete less than 20% of the blow. About the manganese, the next element which to oxidize is the manganese. Now, you see that manganese concentration also decreases to 40 to 60%, but after 60 to 75 or 80% of the blow, a slightly again increase in concentration of manganese occurs. Remember, this point is important, we will discuss once again. Now, main thing is to see the carbon and phosphorus reaction. As I have said earlier, both the reactions, they go parallel and they go simultaneously, and that is what the requirement of converter steel making process, that both reactions can take place simultaneously, because we have made the slag limey or basic slag much earlier. Now, one slag is there of the right basicity, of the right chemical composition, of the right limey, and at the right temperature, then there is no reason why phosphorus reaction should not occur. Once you allow carbon to proceed at a faster rate, then the phosphorus will not be able to remove, because phosphorus requires lower temperature as compared to carbon. So, all efforts are being made that the rate of carbon removal is increased only when sufficient amount of phosphorus is removed, and that is what you see from here also. Now, as regards the slag formation, you see now as the time proceeds, the calcium oxide continuously increases naturally, because calcium oxide what you have added as a solid form, it dissolves, and as such the concentration of calcium oxide will increase as the blow increases. SiO2 MnO, because you are not adding any Mn or Si outside. So, whatever it is there, it is there. Now, the FeO concentration in the middle, it increases and then slightly it levels off. Now, remember, the FeO concentration in the slag is very important from the point of view of dephosphorization reaction. Now, once dephosphorization is over, then all attempt must be made to recover as far as possible the iron content of the slag to the metal, because whatever iron which has been lost in the slag, that is a loss to the yield. So, in order to that, the FeO content of the slag should be reduced to the extent possible, and most of the converter steel making processes, they work at 14 to 18% of FeO in the slag. So, now summarizing these observations, I will write few important points. See, my observation number 1, say all impurities begin to oxidize simultaneously. All impurities begin to oxidize simultaneously. Second observation is that formation of slag begins with oxidation of silicon to SiO2, manganese to MnO, iron to FeO. Now, remember, in the initial period of the blow, purposefully iron is oxidized. Presence of FeO, it helps dissolution of lime. So, purposely iron oxidation is kept little higher side on the initial side, so that calcium oxide dissolves in the early stage for dephosphorization. Third, dissolution of lime it increases as the blow proceeds. Fourth, presence of lime helps dephosphorization. Fifth observation, carbon and phosphorus reaction both occur simultaneously, but however, the phosphorus removal rate is somewhat faster as compared to carbon because of the reason I have already mentioned. Sixth, about the manganese content. The manganese content of the bath, it decreases initially. After a later stage of the blow, so between 60 to 80% of the blow, the manganese content of the bath increases. Why it increases? Because as the blow proceeds, the activity of FeO in the slag decreases because of the carbon boil, temperature also increases, basicity also increases, and on account of which the manganese content of the bath, it increases. The development of top and bottom blowing. Development of top plus bottom blowing, or so called hybrid blowing. Now, the concept of development of top and bottom blowing is this decarburization curve. This is percentage carbon per minute against blowing time 0 to 100%. In the main part of the blow, so this, if I can put it, this is the main part of the blow. This is the, let me put, this is main part of the blow, main blow. This is the end blow and this is the initial blow. In the main part of the blow, there is a considerable amount of CO is evolved, so bath stirring is very good. Towards the end, when the carbon content is decreased, the CO evolution is also decreased, so iron oxidation will increase, and because the bath agitation is again very poor. Similarly, in the initial part of the blow, carbon oxidation is not allowed to proceed at the rate which is required because of the slag formation. So, in the initial and in the later period of the blow, the agitation is weak, and this is based on the fact that top blown oxygen does not give enough agitation to the bath. The agitation, whatever is provided by the carbon monoxide gas. Now, having thought this idea, then it has been thought that there is a bottom blowing process also. Now, in the bottom blowing, what is being done, as I have shown over here, in the bottom blowing, say oxygen is blown from the top. So, some of the advantages of bottom blowing process is that stirring is very good. Stirring is very good. Slag formation is poor. Slag formation is poor. Low FeO, because when you are blowing oxygen through the bottom, then oxygen will always find its carbon and carbon monoxide will proceed and the slag formation will be delayed. So, if you want to remove phosphorus, that is not possible in the way in which top blowing steel making does. That means it is possible only when large amount of carbon is removed, then and then slag will form. Because for the removal of phosphorus, you require a limey slag, you require calcium oxide, you require SiO2, you require MnO. So, that slag will only form when large amount of carbon has been removed. The main advantage of this bottom blowing is the stirring is very good. Now, in case of top blowing, carbon and phosphorus can be removed simultaneously. That is one particular advantage. Second advantage is that control of slag formation. Control of slag formation. How you can control the slag formation? By simply rising or lowering the lance distance, which is not there in case of bottom blowing, because you can only form slag when a large amount of carbon is removed. Third advantage is that control of oxygen distribution. control of oxygen distribution, because by deep bath, with deep penetration of the jet into the bath, more oxygen will be available deep into the hot metal by lowering the lance distance. So, control of oxygen is also very easy, but one of the disadvantages is that there is inadequate bath stirring, as I said, particularly in the initial and towards the end period. So, why not the advantage of one process is combined with the advantage of another, and that is what given birth to the process which is called top and bottom blowing, which is shown at the bottom. This is also called hybrid blowing, this is also called duplex blowing, this is also called duplex blowing, and this is also called top blowing and bottom stirred processes, top blowing and bottom blowing. Well, there are several names up there. So, what this process is that oxygen is supplied from the top as well as the inert gas is stirred from the bottom in some of the version. Some plants they use oxygen through the bottom. Well, there are different practices here, but essentially what it does, it combines the advantages of both and gives a new process which is called top and bottom blowing processes. Now, all the variations of this process, they differ in the following aspects. Say the variations of top and bottom blowing, variations that differ in terms of amount of inert gas, then number and arrangement of bottom two ears, number and arrangement of bottom two ears. Because once you decided to inject the gas through the bottom, the naturally question arises, what should be the amount? Because you need that amount which just stirs the bath, not more than that, if the inert gas is there, because reactive jet is being supplied from the top. So, additional bottom gas you are providing just for the stirring purpose, you require a minimum amount of gas. If you decided on the amount, then what should be the number of injecting elements and how they are arranged. And the third thing is also what is the type of injection element, Now, coming back to the inert gas, well, you have to decide what should be the optimum amount of inert gas, because once you put the tuer or the injecting element at the bottom of the converter, then you have to blow minimum amount of gas, otherwise tuer will be clogged. So, once you decided that amount, the next thing comes number and arrangement of bottom tuers. Now, the number may vary from 2, some plant 4, some plant 8, some plant 12. So, all these numbers are very, because this top and bottom blowing, it just requires to develop a technology. I cannot say in a classroom, well, this is the technology which is going to help. Several plants, several different type of people, several different technology has to emerge, and that is why you have very different technology of bottom blowing. As regard top blowing, it is same as it was done in 1950 at Linge and Donawitz. As regards bottom blowing, it is differing from plant to plant. They differ on the amount of inert gas rate, they differ on the number of injecting element, and they also differ on the arrangement of the injecting element. Now, the arrangement could be, say, arrangement of bottom tuer could be some plants go for symmetrical arrangement, symmetrical to the axis of the converter. Some plants prefer to go for asymmetrical. Both have reasoning, both have positive point. Asymmetrical design, it rather allows the bottom gas to stop at the time of tapping. So, well, symmetrical has their advantage, asymmetrical also have their advantage. I cannot comment anything on that, because ultimately the whole idea of top and bottom blowing practice is to improve the performance of the converter, is to increase the productivity, is to decrease the iron content of the slag, is to decrease the dissolved oxygen content of steel, and almost all variations of top and bottom blowing process, they claim that they tap the steel at reduced iron content of the slag and reduced dissolved oxygen content of steel. Both are the technological indices. So, as regards the output is concerned, whatever variations you have, it is all the same. So, the important point or the important part of the development of the technology lies in what is the amount of inert gas, what is the number of the bottom injection element, and how they are arranged. Now, about the type of injection elements, so type of injection elements, some plants prefer to have 2 ears. 2 ears are the straight pipes, you can easily blow, not much pressure differential is required, where some plants prefer to go for porous plugs. Some plants prefer to use porous plug. Porous plug require higher pressure differential. So, as such the problem would be there, because you have to insert them to the bottom. So, the refractory material of the porous plug should match with the refractory of the bottom of the converter. So, all these are the technological issues which cannot be addressed in a lecture room. It has to be seen, it has to be felt. So, 2 ears and porous plug. Now, in the porous plug again several designs are there. There could be straight path, or the path could be little bit tortuous. Some wants to work with the higher pressure differential, some wants to work with the lower pressure differential. So, this is about the variations in technology, and as such there has to be different variations as already available in the practice. The blowing schedule is to be adjusted. That means lance profile has to be slightly adjusted. Now, in top and bottom blowing converter, the top lance simply can supply the oxygen, because the stirring part will be taken care by the bottom injection. So, there are again here the different variation. In one practice, for example, after having a higher distance in the beginning, say this is the practice A, this is the practice B. So, in practice A, after a higher distance in the beginning, the lance is lower and then is kept at a constant distance, and a stirring gas amount is constant. There are some practices that work on this. Another practice which is shown by the B, after a higher starting lance distance is slightly lowered, then again blows at a constant distance, and then again lowered, and then again blows at a constant distance. Some plant they prefer to have a higher starting stirring gas rate as shown by here, and then decrease it and then blow at a constant stirring gas amount. This is again a technological issue. The bottom 2 ears should not be plugged. Here and there little variations in the lance profile in the amount of bottom gas rate will differ from plant to plant, but all will have towards the end the technological indexes as reported in the bottom figures. Now, the technological index, one technological index is percentage iron in slag. Now, if it is plotted as a turn down percent carbon, now this is in fact turn down percent carbon, then for top blowing, for any turn down percentage carbon, the total iron in the slag is much higher. Now, it is compared with the pure bottom blowing. Remember, pure bottom blowing, then for the pure bottom blowing, because of the intimate reaction between carbon and oxygen in the bath. So, for any turn down carbon content of the bath, the iron content of the slag is lower. The green portion, this is for the operation for top plus bottom blowing. So, the percentage iron in slag or the turn down percent iron in slag is lower than top, but could be little higher than bottom for almost all top and bottom blowing processes. Now, similarly, another technological index is the turn down oxygen content. Now, the turn down oxygen content is plotted against here turn down carbon content. Again, for top blowing, the value for any turn down carbon content of the steel, the oxygen or dissolved oxygen in the steel is higher for top blowing, is lower for bottom blowing, and the green color or the range which I have shown, because there are different processes are there. So, this range is for top and bottom blowing. Because of the poor stirring in the bath, the rate of dissolution of the scrap in top blowing is slower as compared to when the bath is highly agitated. So, as you see, when there is a bath agitation, a good stirring in the bath, then the temperature equality will be faster and the scrap dissolution will also go at the faster as compared to top blowing. Now, so the last thing is that steel making slag and control of slag during tapping Now, during tapping, the entrainment of slag must be avoided. Entrainment of slag should be avoided. Because slag is highly oxidizing in nature. It has MnO, it has FeO, and as such it is highly oxidizing in nature. So, consumption of deoxidizer will be higher in the ladle also, because larger amount of FeO and MnO content of the slag, more oxygen will transfer into the metal and more amount of deoxidizer are required. Then during ladle treatment, some phosphorus can also revert to the metal, because the metal which you have tapped in the ladle, if it is entrained by the slag, then slag also has P2O5. So, what is required during tapping is to have a slag free tapping is required. Slag free tapping to the extent possible is required, and for having slag free tapping, various methods are there: tape hole plug, slag cut ball method, pneumatic slag stopper, and slag detection methods are used for having the slag free tapping. Now, about the exit gases. Exit gases, they contain carbon monoxide, entrained solid particles and so on. So, these gases, they have very high calorific value as well as they have a calorific value as well as the sensible heat, because the gases are going out of the converter at around 1400 degrees Celsius. A large amount of CO is produced. So, the gas has sensible heat as well as calorific value. So, these exit gases are cleaned. So, these exit gases, they are taken into the primary gas cooler. From there they go to the dust catcher, because you have to remove the dust. A very large amount of dust is there, and this dust is purely Fe2O3. So, you recover and send it back to the blast furnace, and this dust catcher is subjected to electrostatic separator for removing of the very fine particle, electrostatic separator, and then it goes to the blower, the gas, and the gas ultimately discharges into the stack. So, let us see modern trends. So, one modern trend is post combustion. And another is slag splashing. Let us take first of all post combustion. Now, post combustion is in fact a energy conservation measure. post combustion had been adopted earlier also in 60s and 70s, but now it has been realized, the advantages of post combustion has been realized, and some of the plants they are adopting post combustion practice also. Now, what this post combustion does? Post combustion means combustion of CO inside the converter by supplying additional amount of oxygen. So, that means CO plus half O2, that is equal to CO2, and the heat of formation, a very large amount of heat is being created by combusting CO gas inside the reactor. Now, this combustion of carbon monoxide offers a potential source for energy saving in the top and bottom blowing converter technology. Now, this post combustion has to be done inside the converter. Now, the post combustion ratio, it can be defined as percentage CO2 upon percent CO plus percentage CO2. Now, some of the advantages, of post combustion, because then first is higher scrap melting rate. Higher scrap melting rate. Why higher scrap melting rate? Because the temperature will also increase, and hence the scrap will melt at a little faster rate. Second advantage which is claimed, reduction in greenhouse gas emission. Reduction in greenhouse gas emission. Now, this reduction in greenhouse gas emission occurs because now you can charge more amount of scrap into the converter and less hot metal. Third, reduced sloping. Third, reduced sloping because now the temperature increases, slag becomes less viscous, and hence the chance of sloping is also minimizes. But what is important for the post combustion technology is again the development of a system to blow additional amount of oxygen for the post combustion purposes. Now, see the problem, what is the problem here? So, if I draw a converter over here, this is my main oxygen which I am blowing through a lance, this is my hot metal and this is the slag. CO gas is somewhere here, this is the CO gas. What I have to do for realizing the post combustion? I have to supply O2 over here. So, where lies the essence of post combustion technology is again to develop a suitable lance for blowing the extra amount of oxygen at a lower velocity, because higher is the velocity of oxygen for post combustion, it will not be able to combust all amount of CO, because CO is dispersed in a large area of the vessel. So, you have to blow CO, you have to blow oxygen at a very small velocity and also disperse over the entire surface area of the converter. So, they require, what is required is to develop technology, to inject oxygen for post combustion. Now, the simplest technology that you can see, you have a lance tip and outside the supersonic nozzle you provide few small holes. Then whatever fraction of the oxygen that comes out from the small holes, that can do the job of post combustion, because it will come first of all at a very small amount, and then second it will be distributed over a little area. That is practice is also being done. Now, another practice is that you add a second tip or distributor between the bath and the oxygen tip. Now, there are two types of distributor. One, say single or split flow design, and another a double flow design. In the single or split flow design, one oxygen supply and one inlet you have. A small percentage of oxygen is split inside the lance for post combustion purposes. Now, that is again a design issue. In case of double flow design, separate oxygen inlet and oxygen control system solely dedicated for post combustion is required. So, that is here control is easier. So, another development is called slag splashing. Now, slag splashing is done to increase the lining life of the slag. In some plants, slag splashing has resulted in a very high lining life. The order of some plants claim greater than 60,000 heats could be a one particular example. What is slag splashing? See, at the end of the BOS process, steel is drained and slag is retained in the vessel. On the same top oxygen lance, nitrogen is blown and high pressure nitrogen is used to splash molten slag on the walls of the BOS vessel for a period of 2 to 4 minutes. As a result of blowing of high pressure nitrogen, the slag is blown and it adheres to the lining of the refractory wall, and as such you get the slag splashed coated refractory lining. Now, what is required for slag splashing? Some composition of the slag, it should be required. Now, what is that? First of all, the slag should have MgO content around greater than 13%, because MgO will react with Fe2O3 and it will form a high temperature phase. At the same time, FeO content of the slag should also be approximately around 20%, because the FeO content of the slag, it will form a low melting point phase, as well as it forms a good adhesion between the slag and refractory. MgO content of the slag, it forms a high melting phase. So, if both are combined together, then a very good coating of the slag results on splashing of the slag. So, the diagram shows the how slag splashing is done. Beginning, the red color which shows the slag, lance is blowing nitrogen at a 4 to 5 bar pressure, and as a result of blowing of the nitrogen, the nitrogen jet penetrates into the slag and then slag begins to splash, and it adheres to the wall of the lining, and the red one shows the slag coating. So, that is how the slag splashing is being done. Now, some of the problems in slag splashing, the lance sculling is one problem. Lance sculling is one problem because slag is relatively viscous. So, lance sculling is one of the problem. Another problem could be sculling in the vessel's mouth. Sculling in the vessel's mouth. Then third, if it is a top and bottom blowing tuyer, then the plugging of bottom tuyers. Then plugging of bottom tuyers. Benefits of slag splashing: first, large refractory life, and some plant claim the order of 60,000 heats. It is a huge number. Second, since the splashed lining already contains MgO, so less CaO is required, Third, leftover slag has some amount of calcium oxide, some MgO, it is being enriched. So, if this slag is being coated on the lining life, and when the heat starts, then already calcium oxide and magnesium and MgO is present. So, rapid formation of a basic slag and rapid CaO dissolution condition exists right in the beginning of the slag. Now, here some of the environmental issues in oxygen steel making. Some of the environmental issues in oxygen steel making, well, control of emissions during hot metal transfer, desulfurization station, disposition of slag, recycling or disposal of collected oxide melts, capture and removal of contaminants in hot and dirty exit gas from the converter, emission of CO. Sometimes you may require excess amount of air may be used at the mouth of the hood to burn the CO, and the energy could be used. Particulate matter, so they are all these concerned with the environmental issues which must be taken care. Now, again there is a question why there is a high turnover rates. High turnover rates. As you recall, a 200 to 400 ton converter, it taps in 60 minutes. A 400 ton of hot metal is converted to steel in a matter of 60 minutes. So, the high turnover rates, the reason being one, energetic supply of oxygen. Energetic supply of oxygen. Second, bottom stirring is another reason for high turnover rates. Then the formation of slag metal emulsion, because of the increased surface area. Fourth, control of oxygen distribution. And slag formation is faster. So, these are some of the reasons for faster turnover of say basic oxygen furnace, in particular top and bottom blowing. More reasons you can think. Now, to conclude the lecture, I will say only that top and bottom blowing converter technology is the future. This particular technology has already attained very high maturity level. With the development of dynamic control and the development of slag splashing and also the development in the refractory technology have made the top and bottom blowing converter technology very, very strengthful. So, in the years to come, it is very hard to replace this technology by any other means. Thank you very much.